the council that we have, we've got about a council of 10 and 4 in the executive, myself as chairman, Thomas Bielenberg as vice chairman, Daryl Gibson as treasurer, and Mark Barley as the secretary, which is a great team. And obviously Anne Locke, who is there as our paid worker to support these ministry objectives. In terms of the plan itself, I'm not necessarily one for numbers, but what I would say is that if people have a heart for the defence ministry, I would say to you, get involved. I don't care if you don't sign the form, but I want you to get involved. I want you to seek out ways within your spheres of influence that you can have an impact for the kingdom of God. We do have a paid staff worker, so if you'd like to be an MCF Centurion, Mick Mumford, our previous chairman, kicked off the Centurions program. These are those who, I guess, are willing to give financially as well as in prayer and as well as promote the organisation. So, again, if you're wanting to be an MCF Centurion, we're wanting to raise 100 Centurions by 2014. We currently have about 40, then I'd welcome you to come on board in this regard. Christian lay ministry is a big job, and that's why God has given this task to MCF and other Christian military ministries. Together we can make a difference by being salt and light in today's and tomorrow's ADF. I'd like to just give you a bit of an insight into me and a deployment that I had to Sudan. What you'll see on the screen there is a few of the members that I had. I was the COMASC. Back in 2006, we had a team of about 17 of us. And it was great to work in a multinational headquarters called UNMISS. Worked with a 3-star Lieutenant General who was a Sikh. One of the things I learnt out of that was if you're invited to dinner, eat beforehand because they don't serve you food until 1 o'clock in the morning. And they feed you drinks up until then. Because his philosophy is, well, if you feed them food at 8 o'clock, they'll leave. Whereas if you feed them at 1 o'clock, they'll hang around, which is an approach. But in terms of the opportunity, in terms of the spiritual growth that I found, it wasn't, whilst I had some interactions with some of these guys, and as Jim Wallace did when he first went in, I let them know I was a Christian. And there was a couple of instances first up where I was sharing a room with a couple of senior soldiers and noticed some magazines that's what I had hanging around which weren't really appropriate, and I said, guys, put them away, which they did. And also alcohol and stuff like that as well, you know. In a Muslim country, maybe have some for your personal consumption, but let's not be hordes of this stuff. We're not going to keep a lot of alcohol in our accommodation, and so I had to make a call on that as well. But again, if they know where you stand and they know where your values are, it makes it a lot easier to do that. But I felt God. So we're in Khartoum, in this apartment complex, and between us and there was this sort of 2 metre high wall that went over into like a dirt soccer pitch, and sort of sitting up in an apartment, I'd often hear some of these guys, you know, yelling around and running around and sort of having a great time, and I felt God saying to me, step over the fence into the unknown, which it was at that stage, and go and meet these guys. So I sort of proffered, you know, went over the fence, and I didn't know whether they spoke English or not. So I got down there and they were playing soccer. I said, oh, can I have a kick of the soccer ball? And a couple of guys spoke English. I said, yeah, sure, come along. And so for the first sort of week or so, I just sort of playing a bit of football with them and getting a bit of a strange sort of look from some of these other people who thought, you know, what's a white man doing playing soccer with us? And I'd sort of talked to a couple of guys there, and they said that, look, it's okay, he's all right, you know, he's got a good heart, no worries. And so, but it went from playing these soccer games to then sort of, after the games, going and having some Ethiopian coffee, which is this real thick stuff which, you know, stains your teeth, so you come back with brown teeth. And then sharing meals with them, being part of their lives. We'd sing songs together, we'd dance together. And it was just such a great sort of culture experience that I'll never forget. One of the guys I became particularly close to and gone to his family a couple of times, and I used to meet after I'd been working, got back about 5:30 in the day, and would go and meet with this guy because he was probably the closest guy I was with, and he wasn't there, and I said, where's Artie, which was his name, and sorry he's not here today, something bad's happened. I said, oh, what's happened? He'd been telling me that his brother was looking to leave Africa, and so he and his girlfriend had left about a week beforehand, sort of going up through Libya and what have you to then try and go to Italy. Anyway, they just got news that the boat that his brother and his girlfriend had been on had sunk, and all 62 of them had died. And I thought, oh man. And part of me said, oh, well, you probably shouldn't go around to the house now and do that because you're a white man and blah, blah, blah. But again, I thought, God's saying, no, get on their little, whatever you call them, little scooter things. So I went on there and went around to the house. And as is their custom, they spend about three days in this mourning period where everybody sort of comes around the house, and it was really touching. But again, because these guys are really poor, and as their custom, they buy a lamb when someone's died. This is like a year's wages to those guys. So I said, guys, here's the money, go and get your lamb, what can I do? And so I'd spent about 4 or 5 hours at this house with 50 or 60 other guys, and again, people would be coming in and saying, what's this white man doing here? And they'd say, no worries, brothers, he's cool, he's got Ethiopian blood, he's one of us. He can stay here, that's fine. And so I went through these quite deep situations with these guys. And I guess to cut a short story, long story short, on the sort of last night that I was going to be there, I'd taken them out, to the Nile River and all this kind of stuff, and took them to the pizza bar, and it was just such an amazing experience. We were sort of sitting around in this circle, having sung some songs and done a bit of dancing, whatever else, and then spontaneously, a group of 20 of them got up, and some had interpreters, but they just, all of them got up and said what a privilege it was to have this white man come in within their midst, spend time with them, love them, be with them, give them a hope. And I was just in tears, it went around for like 2 hours, these guys doing that, and I got up at the end and said, guys, just thank you so much for this experience. And I said, what you have here together, coming together at the end of the day with all your mates playing soccer and stuff and being together in community, I said, there are some good things in the West, but a lot of people would die to have that kind of community relationship in the West. They might be full in terms of their tummies, but from the emotional and spiritual side, they're bankrupt. These guys had to turn to God because they had nothing else. And it was just such an awesome experience to be there with them. One of the songs that I used to sing with them was a Michael Jackson song called Heal the World. And the words of it are almost like what God would have been saying to Jesus as he came down to the world. Heal the world, make this a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. And again, I see that as God's heart to us as Christians to also go out and to make a difference, to heal the world, to make it a better place through Christ who is living and indwells within us. And so in closing, I'll just ask Lynn to come up as well. I'm going to do this thing as an a cappella thing. But if you just go to the last slide, please, Mark. I'll do one more thing, just go there. This is one of the things that I came back from church and was sort of saying to the guys, if you're looking through God's eyes, knowing who you are, your passions, your weaknesses in life experience, where should you be salt and light in this broken world? So you know who you are, you know what identifies you, you know what your DNA is. Where should you be? What are you doing? Let us help you and encourage you to be that person that God has created you to be. So, I'll just sing this song. And so, next slide, please. So this is me with some of the guys at the Nile River, and probably can't see too much there. But as one of these songs we used to sing was "Heal the World." So we'll just do that now. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Thank you. That's what I got for you guys. And that is God's heart, you know, for us. He wants us to be the best that we can be. He doesn't want us to be feeling guilty or ashamed. He wants us to have a short account with our Heavenly Father so we can be that person He wants us to be.